The dawn broke softly over the whispering moon pack, painting the rooftops with a warm, honey-colored glow. In a cramped attic above the pack's bakery, Lily stirred awake to the sound of clattering trays downstairs. The scent of fresh bread floated up through the floorboards, making her stomach rumble. Her bed creaked as she sat up, a narrow cot with a thin blanket, barely enough to keep out the chill of the morning. Lily was 19, but felt much older. Life had forced her to grow up too fast. Her parents had died in a rogue attack when she was just a child, leaving her with no family and no inheritance. The pack had taken her in, yes, but more out of duty than love. She slipped into her faded blue dress, patched at the knees and frayed at the sleeves. It wasn't beauty she had to offer the world, it was her hard work. And work she did, every single day, from dawn to nightfall, kneading dough until her arms ached and delivering bread to wolves who barely noticed her existence. Yet, behind her quiet eyes was a heart that longed for more. She dreamed of being loved. Not the shallow kind of love whispered by drunken wolves outside the tavern, but the kind where someone would see her scars and still think she was worth holding close. As she stood by the attic's tiny window, she could see the Alpha's mansion perched on the hill, a palace compared to her attic. Its white stone walls gleamed in the morning sun, guarded by patrols in fine armor. That world felt a million miles away. Alphas didn't notice girls like her. They married she-wolves of status, strength, and beauty. But Lily's heart betrayed her every time she imagined what it might feel like to be chosen, to be cherished. She scolded herself for dreaming of the impossible. Her reverie broke when the baker's wife, a stern-faced woman named Marta, bellowed from below, "Lily, stop daydreaming and get down here before the dough burns." "Yes, Marta," Lily called back, her voice soft yet obedient. She tied her apron, smoothed her hair, and hurried down the creaky stairs. Another day of work awaited her, a life of being unnoticed. She had no idea that everything was about to change, that someone would notice her, that someone would lie to her, that her heart would be broken and healed in ways she couldn't imagine. And it all began with the Alpha on the hill. While Lily worked quietly at the bakery, the whispering moon pack revolved around one name, Alpha Kale. Kale's rule was absolute. Every wolf in the pack respected, or rather feared him. Tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes the color of steel, Kale had built his reputation through dominance and cunning. He had won the pack's loyalty in countless battles, but his victories came with whispers. Kale takes what he wants. No one dared cross him. No one told him no. At the weekly assemblies in the grand courtyard, wolves knelt at his feet. Lily had seen him from afar once. His presence made the air feel heavy, and his cold smirk told the world he knew his power. Some said he had no heart, only ambition. But behind Kale's towering shadow stood someone very different. Eli, the pack's Omega. The Omega was the lowest rank, often treated as invisible. Eli delivered messages, tended the pack's archives, and healed the wounded when others wouldn't bother. He didn't look impressive, a lean man with warm hazel eyes, messy chestnut hair, and calloused hands. His quiet kindness often earned him mockery. "An Omega is only good for errands," the betas sneered. Yet Lily noticed something no one else seemed to see. While Kale's power made people kneel, Eli's gentleness made people breathe easier. He helped pups find their way home, patched bruises for warriors, and smiled at strangers as if kindness cost nothing. Lily had never spoken to either Kale or Eli. Wolves like her didn't belong in the Alpha's world. Still, as she worked at the bakery's counter that morning, she overheard a group of she-wolves gossiping about last night's pack meeting. "Did you hear? Kyle's throwing another feast next full moon. He wants a new mate, someone special," one whispered, twirling her hair. "Ha! Whoever he picks should be careful. Kyle uses and discards faster than anyone," another snickered. "Not that any of us would refuse him," the first replied with a smirk. Who could say no to an alpha? Lily's cheeks warmed at their words. She shouldn't care. Kyle's world wasn't hers, yet a strange shiver ran through her. Outside the bakery window, she caught a glimpse of Eli walking past with an armful of herbs, smiling softly as he stopped to help an elderly wolf gather spilled apples. No one paid him much attention, but Lily did. If Kale was fire, Eli was the steady warmth of the sun. Little did she know that both men, one feared and one overlooked, would soon upend her life. The bakery smelled of honey bread and cinnamon that afternoon, the warm scent curling through the air like a promise. Lily worked quietly behind the counter, dusting flour off her apron, when the front door swung open with a sudden burst of cold wind. The chatter of customers fell silent. Wolves shifted uneasily, lowering their heads. He had arrived. Alpha Kale stepped into the shop as if the space belonged to him, which in many ways it did. His broad shoulders nearly brushed the doorway, and his black coat, lined with silver wolf fur, rippled around him like a storm. The steel gray of his eyes seemed to pin everyone in place. Lily froze. She had never been this close to him before. Kale's reputation was enough to make her heart pound. But when his eyes landed on her, something unexpected happened. He smiled. Not the cold, mocking smirk she'd seen at pack gatherings, but a slow, confident smile that made her pulse stutter. "What's your name?" Kyle asked, his voice low and smooth, carrying the weight of authority, but wrapped in an unexpected softness. Lily swallowed hard. Lily, she stammered. Kale stepped closer to the counter, his gaze never leaving hers. Lily, he repeated, as if testing the sound. A sweet name, fitting for someone who smells like warm bread and honey. Her cheeks flushed crimson. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Marta, the baker's wife, hurried forward nervously. Alpha Kale, what an honor. What can we get for you today? Kyle waved her off without looking away from Lily. I came for bread, he said, lips curving in that confident grin. But I seem to have found something more interesting. Whispers rippled through the shop. Everyone's eyes darted between Lily and Kyle. Lily's heart hammered. Why would the alpha even notice her? Surely this was just a game, a passing fancy. Yet when Kale reached out and brushed a stray strand of hair from her cheek, the world tilted. I'll see you again, Lily, he said, voice low enough for only her to hear. Soon. And with that, he turned and strode out, leaving a stunned bakery and a trembling Lily behind. She didn't notice Eli standing across the street, watching silently with an unreadable expression. For the rest of the day, Lily's hands trembled as she worked. Kale's words replayed in her mind like an enchantment. I'll see you again, Lily. Soon. It felt like a dream, and yet a strange unease coiled in her chest. By evening, the bakery was nearly empty, except for a few regulars. As she scrubbed the counters, 2 young she-wolves sat near the window, gossiping in hushed voices. Lily didn't mean to listen, but their voices carried. Did you see how Kale looked at that bakery girl today? One giggled. Of course. He looks at a lot of girls like that, the other replied with a smirk. You know how it goes. Kale takes what he wants. No one ever refuses him. And if they do? They don't, came the sharp answer. No one dares. He's the alpha. He doesn't ask. He chooses. Lily's stomach tightened. The girls continued, their tone dropping lower. Remember Marin? She thought Kale wanted to make her his mate. He visited her cottage for a week, and then, poof, she was yesterday's news. At least she got gifts before he dropped her. Poor Sana didn't even get that. They laughed, oblivious to the sting of their words. Lily gripped the rag in her hand until her knuckles whitened. She wanted to believe Kale's attention meant something, that his smile in the bakery wasn't the same one he'd given to countless others. But doubt crept in. And yet, when she remembered the warmth in his eyes, the way the world had seemed to narrow to just the two of them. Her heart betrayed her and fluttered anyway. As the girls left, Marta came to stand beside Lily, sighing heavily. "Child," she said, her voice low, "don't get caught up in Kale's charm. He's dangerous. He plays with hearts and leaves them broken. That's how alphas are." Lily opened her mouth to speak, but Marta patted her shoulder and walked away, leaving the warning hanging in the air. When Lily stepped outside later to take out the trash, the night air was cool and still. Across the street, Eli was helping an elderly wolf carry a basket up the steps. He caught Lily's eye and gave her a gentle smile, the kind that held no weight of expectation, no games, just kindness. But in her mind, Kale's deep voice still echoed. "I'll see you again, Lily. Soon." And the whispers of the pack were clear. Kale always gets what he wants, and no one says no. The night breeze cooled Lily's flushed face as she closed the bakery shutters. The streets were quieter now, lanterns flickering as wolves made their way home. She gathered the last tray of leftover rolls to take to the orphan pups near the river. It was something she did secretly, though no one ever thanked her. As she walked down the cobbled path, balancing the tray, her foot caught on a loose stone. The tray wobbled, and a few rolls tumbled to the ground. "Need a hand?" The voice was warm, deep, and unassuming. Lily turned, startled. A man stood just a few feet away, carrying a basket of herbs slung over one shoulder. His brown hair was tousled, as if the wind played with it often. His hazel eyes caught the lamplight. Kind eyes, not sharp like Kale's, but gentle, steady. He wore a plain tunic, patched like her dress, and looked like someone who worked with his hands. I'm fine," Lily said quickly, kneeling to pick up the rolls. But he crouched beside her, helping gather them with an easy smile. "These deserve better than the dirt. Where were you taking them?" "To the orphan pups by the river. They don't get enough food," she admitted, hesitating. His smile widened, not mockingly, but with quiet admiration. "That's kind of you." There was no flirtation, no heavy gaze, no trace of Kale's calculated charm, just sincerity. "I see you at the bakery sometimes," he said as they stood. "You always look busy, but you have a good heart." Lily blinked, unsure how to respond. No one ever noticed her beyond her work. "I just do what I can," she murmured. "Sometimes doing what you can is more heroic than swinging a sword," he said with a small chuckle. "Anyway, let me walk with you. It's late." He didn't introduce himself. She didn't ask. Somehow, that made the encounter feel even more effortless, as though the night itself had nudged them together. As they walked toward the river, his presence felt calming. He asked about her day, listened when she spoke, and didn't interrupt. There was no sense of status, no dominance, no games. When they reached the orphan pups, he knelt to give each child a roll, speaking softly to them. One little girl tugged his sleeve, giggling. He laughed too. A warm, unguarded laugh that made Lily's chest ache in an unfamiliar way. When the last roll was given, he turned to her. "Be careful walking home." "The world isn't always kind," he said. "Not everyone is unkind either," Lily replied before she could stop herself. He looked surprised, then smiled again, gentle, genuine. "I'll see you around, bakery girl." And then he melted into the shadows, leaving Lily with a strange flutter in her chest and no idea that she had just met the pack's overlooked Omega. The next morning, the bakery felt different. A hush fell over the street outside, followed by a murmur of voices. When Lily peeked out the window, her heart nearly stopped. A sleek black carriage trimmed with silver waited outside, guarded by two warriors in dark leather. And standing in front of the bakery door was Alpha Kale himself. Marta nearly fainted when he stepped in. "Alpha, what an honor," she stammered, bowing. We We weren't expecting you today." Kale's gray eyes sought only Lily. "I came for her," he said smoothly, his gaze fixed on Lily. The room went silent. Every customer turned to stare as Kale approached the counter. He held out a small velvet box. "A gift," he said, "for the girl who smells like honey bread." Lily's fingers shook as she opened it. Inside lay a delicate silver necklace with a pendant shaped like a crescent moon. It gleamed like it belonged to another world. "It's too much," she whispered. "It's not enough," Kale replied with a smile that made her knees weak. "Wear it, Lily. Let them know you belong to someone who sees your worth." Marta's mouth fell open. The customers began whispering furiously. No one from Kale's world ever gave attention to someone like Lily. And gifts? From the Alpha? That was unheard of. "He's marking her," someone muttered under their breath. "Lucky girl," another said, though the sharp edge in her tone spoke of envy. Lily's cheeks burned as Kyle took her hand gently and kissed her knuckles. His boldness made her pulse race. "I'll see you again soon," he murmured, before leaving as suddenly as he arrived, the carriage rolling away like a shadow. For hours the bakery buzzed with gossip. Marta warned her again in hushed tones. The she-wolves whispered, half envious, half scornful. Some even offered fake smiles, hoping to get close to Lily now. But beneath the excitement, an unease stirred inside her. Kale's attention felt intoxicating, yes, but also overwhelming, as if she were standing too close to a fire. That evening, she found the silver necklace still warm against her skin. And though part of her heart fluttered, another part remembered the stranger with the kind hazel eyes who'd walked her home. Eli hadn't brought jewelry, he'd brought peace. And though she didn't understand it yet, that would matter more than any gift. This scene builds Kale's dominant, possessive charm, while also fueling jealousy and gossip, showing how Lily's status begins to change. It also maintains the contrast between Kale's grand gestures and Eli's quiet, genuine presence. The silver necklace had become both a comfort and a burden. Everywhere Lily went, whispers followed her like a shadow. Some wolves looked at her with envy, others with judgment, but none of them dared say anything aloud. Not when Alpha Kale himself had given her the gift. 2 nights after the necklace appeared, Kale returned. It was late. The bakery had long closed, and the streets were quiet under the pale glow of the moon. Lily was sweeping the steps when the sound of boots crunching on cobblestones made her look up. Kale stood there, framed by moonlight, his presence overwhelming. His steel-gray eyes roamed over her with an intensity that made her heart stumble. "Why are you still working so late?" he asked, stepping closer. "Someone has to clean up," Lily replied nervously. "Marta doesn't like waking up to dust." A faint smirk curved his lips. "You shouldn't be scrubbing floors when you could be living in a mansion," Kale said. "When you could be mine." Lily blinked. "I don't understand." Kale reached out, tracing the chain of the necklace he had given her. His touch was light, but carried an unspoken authority. "I don't give gifts lightly. I don't waste my time on those unworthy. You, Lily, you're different." Her pulse raced. "Different? You're the kind of woman an alpha should claim, and I will," he said with a quiet certainty that sent a strange shiver down her spine. "You will be my mate, my Luna. I'll give you the world." The words hung in the air like a spell. No one had ever spoken to Lily like that, like she mattered, like she could belong to a life bigger than her attic and flower-stained dresses. Part of her wanted to believe him. "But I'm just a baker's helper," she said softly. "You're mine," Kale interrupted, his voice low and commanding. "And no one tells the alpha no." There it was, that flash of dominance beneath the honeyed words. It was subtle, wrapped in a velvet promise, but it made Lily's breath catch in something that felt both thrilling and frightening. Before she could respond, Kale leaned down, brushing his lips against her temple. "Soon," he murmured. "Soon, the whole pack will know you're mine." Then he disappeared into the night as silently as he came, leaving Lily trembling on the bakery steps. In her chest, two emotions warred: awe at the Alpha's promise, and a growing unease she couldn't name. And somewhere deep inside, she thought of a quiet stranger with hazel eyes, the one who had offered her no promises, only kindness. The very next morning, Lily felt the weight of the pack in ways she never had before. When she entered the bakery, the room went silent for a heartbeat. Then came the stares, the lingering looks from she-wolves, some envious, some sharp as knives. The beta's wives, who had once ignored her, suddenly smiled too sweetly, their eyes calculating. Marta, wiping her hands on her apron, gave Lily a long, searching look. "Did he really say it?" she asked in a low voice. "That you'll be his Luna?" Lily's face warmed. She hadn't told Marta about Kyle's promise, not in detail. But apparently, Kyle's words traveled faster than the wind. He said something like that, Lily admitted hesitantly. Marta sighed, half in disbelief, half in warning. "Child, you know what that means. You can't disappoint him now. You can't refuse an Alpha's claim." The way Marta said "can't" made Lily's stomach twist. The day dragged on, each customer adding to the weight pressing against her chest. "Lily, you must feel so lucky. The Alpha noticed you of all people. Don't let him down, girl. He gets bored easily. You'll have to stop working here soon. Alphas don't want Luna smelling like dough and ash. Be grateful. Some of us would kill to be in your place." Their voices blurred together, a mixture of envy and warning. With each comment, Lily's quiet life felt further away. And then came the unspoken threat. A pair of beta wolves lingered outside the bakery that evening, exchanging smirks. One of them called out, "The Alpha's girl, huh? Better make him happy, sweetheart. No one says no to Kale." They laughed as they walked off, leaving Lily frozen, gripping the doorframe. By the time she lay in her attic bed that night, staring at the cracked ceiling, her mind was a storm. The Alpha's promise had sounded like a dream. Now it felt like a chain, soft at first, but tightening around her. She didn't know if she wanted to be Kale's mate, but with the entire pack watching and whispering, with Kale's power looming over her, could she even say no? In the silence, she thought of the gentle stranger from the other night, the one who hadn't demanded anything from her, who hadn't promised the world, but whose kindness had made her feel safe. For the briefest moment, she wished she could see him again, but outside, under the glow of the moon, Kale's shadow stretched long across the pack, and Lily knew the pressure was only beginning. The pressure around Lily only grew heavier as the days passed. Every glance felt like a test, every whisper like a warning. By the time Kale's messenger arrived at the bakery, she didn't know whether to feel flattered or afraid. The message was simple. "Alpha Kale requests your presence tonight." It wasn't a question. When evening fell, Lily nervously followed the path to the Alpha's mansion on the hill. The mansion loomed above her, white stone glowing under the moon, guarded by sentries who stepped aside at Kale's order. Her heart pounded as she entered, the marble floors cold beneath her feet. Kale waited for her in a richly furnished room, his coat discarded, his shirt collar loose. He looked almost casual, but the steel in his eyes was the same. "You came," he said with a slow smile. "I wasn't sure if the little whispers scared you off." Lily hesitated. "Everyone's been talking. I don't know if I belong here." Kyle crossed the room in 2 strides and tilted her chin up with his fingers. "Lily, don't listen to them. They're jealous. You're not like them. You're special." Her chest tightened at his words. "Special? Do you think I give silver necklaces to anyone? Do you think I invite just anyone here?" Kyle's voice softened like honey. "I told you before, you'll be my Luna. You'll have everything you've ever dreamed of. All I ask is that you trust me." His words were intoxicating, wrapping around her doubts like silk. No one had ever spoken to her with such confidence, such certainty that she was worth more than her patched dresses and flour-dusted hands. I don't know if I'm ready for all that," Lily admitted. Kyle leaned closer, his lips brushing her ear. "Then let me show you. Stay with me tonight, just us. No expectations, no judgment. Only you and me, where no one else's opinions matter." The way he said it was gentle, tender even, as though he offered her a safe escape rather than a trap. Lily's breath caught. His hand trailed down her arm in a feather-light touch that made her shiver. "You trust me, don't you?" he murmured. "I'd never hurt you, Lily. I just want you close." Her thoughts tangled. The memory of the Omega's kind smile flickered in her mind, but Kale's words drowned it out. He made her feel seen, wanted, powerful in a way she had never known. She nodded faintly. Kale's smile deepened, and he gestured toward the lavish inner chamber. "Good girl," he said softly. "Come with me." And with that, Lily stepped across a line she couldn't yet see. A line between truth and deception, between love and control. Kale's inner chamber was unlike anything Lily had ever seen. Heavy velvet curtains shimmered in the moonlight. Gold-framed mirrors lined the walls, reflecting the soft glow of candles. The air smelled of expensive wine and cedarwood. Lily hesitated at the doorway, her fingers trembling against the fabric of her dress. Everything about the room screamed power, his power, and yet Kale's voice was soft as silk. "Don't be afraid, Lily," he said with a smile that seemed genuine. "I brought you here because you deserve more than crumbs and pity. I want to give you a life where you're cherished. With me, you'll never want for anything." His words melted through her doubts like honey. No one had ever promised her the world before. No one had ever made her feel seen, valued, loved. At least that's what she thought it was. He took her hands and guided her closer. His touch was gentle, his eyes warm, but beneath that warmth, a flicker of triumph glimmered, one Lily was too inexperienced to notice. "I've dreamed about this," he whispered. "You, lying beside me, my Luna, my everything." Her heart raced. It all felt like a dream, too good, too fast, but intoxicating nonetheless. When Kale kissed her, it wasn't forceful. It was careful, coaxing her into believing it was love, not domination. He showered her with praise, whispered promises that blurred into the night. "I'll make you happy forever. No one will ever touch you but me. Trust me, Lily. You belong here. You belong to me." And for a moment, Lily wanted to believe every word. She thought she was stepping into the future he painted for her, one filled with love, respect, and belonging. But Kale's intentions were not as pure as his words. His power over her wasn't born of love, it was born of control. Every whisper, every caress was meant to bind her deeper to him, not as an equal, but as something claimed. By the time dawn threatened the horizon, Lily lay curled against him, heart aching with a strange mix of wonder and fear. She didn't understand why there was a hollowness beneath the warmth. She didn't know that this wasn't love. It was a game of power. Outside the door, the pack whispered about the Alpha's conquest. Inside, Lily clung to the belief that she was chosen, not used. She didn't yet know that the illusion would shatter soon, and that someone far humbler, far kinder, would help her see what real love looked like. The first rays of dawn spilled across Kale's lavish chamber, painting the golden drapes in soft light. Lily stirred, still wrapped in the Alpha's sheets, her heart fluttering with a fragile sense of belonging. She thought about his whispered promises from the night before, how he'd called her his Luna, how he'd said she was special. For a moment, she dared to believe her life had changed forever. But Kale's side of the bed was cold. She sat up, listening. Voices drifted through the half-open door of the adjoining room. At first, she thought she was imagining things, until the laughter came. Deep, careless, and laced with mockery. "You really brought her here?" a voice snickered. Lily recognized it as Kale's Beta. Kale's voice followed, casual and sharp. "Why not? She's pretty enough for a baker's girl. Quiet. Easy to manage. Exactly the kind of girl you have a little fun with." The Beta laughed louder. "Does she think she's your mate now?" Kale's answer cut like a blade. "Let her think what she wants. She'll be more obedient that way. I can't mate with someone of her rank. The pack would revolt. She's a distraction, not a Luna." Lily's chest tightened, her breath shallow and uneven. Each word felt like a slap. "She looks at you like you hung the moon," the Beta teased. Kyle chuckled. "That's what makes it so easy. A few sweet words, and she'd follow me anywhere, even into my bed. And when I'm done, she'll go back to her little life none the wiser." The men laughed again. Lily's vision blurred with tears. Her trembling hands clutched the sheets as the reality of his manipulation crashed over her. The warmth she'd felt in his arms now felt like fire scorching her skin. The promises had been lies, the tenderness, a trap. She dressed quickly, trying not to sob aloud, each sound of their laughter twisting deeper into her heart. The girl who had entered this mansion full of hope felt broken as she slipped out unseen. Outside, the morning air was cool and sharp, carrying the scent of pine. It should have been refreshing, but to Lily it was suffocating. Her heart wasn't just hurt, it was humiliated. And worst of all, a part of her still wanted to believe he hadn't meant it. Lily wandered aimlessly through the quiet outskirts of the Packlands, the world around her blurring with unshed tears. The morning sun was bright, but inside, everything felt dark and hollow. Each echo of Kale's mocking laughter replayed in her head like a cruel song she couldn't escape. A distraction, not a Luna. She'd follow me anywhere, even into my bed. The words cut deeper with every step, and Lily realized the truth she'd been too blinded to see. She had never been loved. She had been conquered, nothing more than a fleeting amusement for the alpha everyone worshipped. Her chest felt tight, as if a stone sat on her heart. She wanted to scream, cry, curse him for lying, but all she could manage was a strangled whisper to herself. How could I be so foolish? Memories of the night before rushed back, the softness of his touch, the promises whispered against her skin, the warmth of his embrace. She had believed him. She had believed she mattered. Now she felt small and ashamed. She slipped into the woods where no one could see her, collapsing onto the mossy ground beneath an ancient oak. Her tears finally spilled, silent at first, then racking sobs that shook her entire body. She pressed her hands to her chest, wishing she could rip out the hurt lodged inside. For years she had dreamed of love, of someone who saw beyond her orphan status and humble life. Kyle's attention had felt like a dream come true, but dreams, she now realized, could also be traps. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Lily didn't know. The world felt numb. Her mind whispered cruel thoughts. You're nothing. He never wanted you. Everyone will laugh when they find out. For the first time, Lily wished she could disappear, but deep inside the storm of her heartbreak, a tiny ember of anger flickered. It wasn't much, but it whispered, "This isn't the end. He doesn't get to define you." She wasn't ready to listen yet, but that ember would matter later. As she wiped her tear-streaked face, she didn't notice a pair of kind eyes watching her from afar. The same humble man she'd met before, the Omega whose presence always seemed gentle and steady. He didn't approach yet, sensing she needed her space. But soon, his kindness would change everything. Lily had spent the rest of the day hidden in the quietest corners of the Pack's territory. She avoided the busy streets, the bakeries and shops she once loved. Even her own home felt too exposed. Every whisper in the distance sounded like laughter meant for her. By the time evening fell, she sat alone near the old creek that cut through the woods. The water's soft ripple was the only sound. Her body ached from crying, and her heart felt hollow. She hugged her knees, trying to disappear into herself, when she heard footsteps approaching. Startled, she turned, half expecting Kale or one of his beta's men. Instead, she saw the same gentle-faced man she had met days earlier, the quiet stranger with soft brown eyes and the unassuming presence. He didn't wear the fine clothes of an alpha or beta. His shirt was plain, and his hands were calloused from work. There was something calming about him, like he belonged to the earth more than the hierarchy of the pack. "Lily," he said softly, crouching a respectful distance away. "You've been out here all day. Are you all right?" The simple question broke something inside her. Tears welled up again, but she didn't look away. For some reason, she didn't feel the need to pretend in front of him. He didn't look at her with pity, only with quiet concern. "I'm fine," she whispered hoarsely, though her trembling voice betrayed the lie. He didn't press. Instead, he took off his jacket and placed it around her shoulders. "It's cold. You shouldn't stay out here alone." She swallowed hard, her throat tight. "Why do you care? You don't even know me." He sat beside her, not too close, not too far. "Maybe I don't need to know everything to care." The words were simple, but they warmed a small part of her heart that had frozen. For a long while, they sat in silence, watching the stars appear one by one. The Omega, though she didn't yet know that was what he was, never asked what happened or why she was crying. He just stayed, offering the quiet kind of comfort Lily didn't know she needed. Before leaving, he handed her a small piece of sweetbread wrapped in cloth. "You should eat," he said gently. "The world hurts less when your stomach isn't empty." Despite herself, she almost smiled. "Thank you. I didn't catch your name." He hesitated for the briefest moment, then simply replied, "Call me Sam." And with that, he left, disappearing into the night. Lily didn't know it yet, but Sam wasn't just a kind stranger. He was an Omega of the pack, overlooked by most, but not by fate. The next morning, Lily braced herself and stepped into the heart of the Packlands. She needed to work, earn her daily wages, and somehow pretend that her world hadn't shattered. But the moment she entered the marketplace, she felt it. The eyes. Dozens of them, watching, judging. It started as faint murmurs she caught only pieces of. "Did you hear? The Alpha had her one night, and he's already moved on." Did she really think she could be Luna material? Every laugh felt louder than it probably was, but Lily's heart heard it all. She wanted to shout that they didn't know the truth, that she had believed Kale's promises. But would anyone even believe her? Two women by the fruit stall pretended to whisper, but made sure their voices carried. She threw herself at him. Now she thinks she's special. A group of young warriors snickered openly, one muttering, "Bet the Alpha got bored fast. Wonder who's next." The cruel words stung more than Kale's betrayal itself. He hadn't even bothered to hide his mockery. Now, the entire pack knew she had shared his bed, and believed she'd done it willingly to climb above her station. Her hands trembled as she tried to buy bread, dropping a few coins. The baker, usually kind, hesitated before taking them, his pity more painful than any insult. Lily wanted to vanish, but each corner of the marketplace seemed worse than the last. Even those who didn't speak watched her with a knowing smirk. She was no longer just Lily, the hard-working orphan. She was the Alpha's discarded plaything. By midday, she fled to the woods, tears burning down her cheeks. She couldn't breathe under the weight of their laughter. Every whisper felt like a dagger twisting deeper into her chest. She wondered if Kale had planned this, if humiliating her publicly was part of his cruel game. A bitter thought crossed her mind. Maybe power wasn't just about strength. Maybe it was about the ability to destroy someone's life with a single night. As she sat by the creek again, head buried in her hands, a familiar voice broke through her sobs. "Lily." It was Sam, the quiet man with kind eyes. He crouched beside her, offering her a clean handkerchief without a word. She didn't have the strength to hide her pain anymore. "They're all laughing at me," she choked out. I thought he loved me." Sam didn't respond with pity or empty promises. He simply said, "The truth of your worth isn't in their whispers, and it's not in what he did. You are more than their gossip, Lily." For the first time that day, Lily felt like she could breathe again. For 2 days, Lily tried to disappear into her work and Sam's quiet kindness. He never pried. He only showed up at the right moments, offering a hand when her load of laundry spilled, or leaving a small bundle of sweetbread where she worked. It didn't erase the hurt, but it made the world feel slightly less cruel. Then Kyle decided to remind her who held the power. That evening, as the pack gathered for the full moon celebration, the alpha arrived with a new woman draped over his arm. She was stunning, long legs, flowing black hair, and dressed in silks that shimmered under the moonlight. Kyle made sure everyone noticed. He laughed louder than usual, held her closer than necessary, and even kissed her neck openly, right in front of the crowd. The whispers turned into open snickers, and Lily could feel the sting of every pair of eyes turning toward her. "She really thought she was special," someone muttered near the bonfire. "Kale's just having his fun," another replied. "He'll toss that one aside soon, too." Lily's stomach twisted. It wasn't jealousy, not entirely. It was the brutal confirmation that she had been disposable all along. A temporary amusement, nothing more. When Kyle caught her gaze across the fire, there was no remorse in his eyes, only arrogance. He tilted his head and smirked as if daring her to react, as if her pain amused him. Her hands clenched until her nails dug into her palms. She wanted to scream, to run, to disappear. But she stood frozen, feeling like the whole pack was laughing at her all over again. Then she felt it, warmth beside her. Sam had stepped closer, not saying a word, not touching her, but just being there. He stood as a quiet shield between her and the cruelty of the crowd. His calm presence anchored her trembling heart. Kale noticed. His smirk faltered for a fraction of a second, a flash of irritation crossing his face before he turned away with his new conquest. Lily didn't know it yet, but that moment marked the beginning of a quiet war between the Alpha, who wanted control, and the Omega, who offered genuine care. In the days following the Alpha's public display with his new conquest, Lily felt herself shrinking further into the shadows. She avoided crowded paths, worked later hours to miss the busy marketplace, and ate alone whenever she could. Every whisper still hurt, every giggle still cut, but she tried to endure in silence. And yet, Sam was always there. He never asked questions she wasn't ready to answer. Instead, he seemed to sense her needs before she even voiced them. When her hands blistered from hauling water, she found a small jar of healing salve waiting on her doorstep. When she returned late at night, there was always a lantern lit near the path, placed safely so she wouldn't stumble in the dark. One morning, as she struggled with a heavy basket of laundry, Sam appeared out of nowhere. "Too heavy for one person," he said simply, taking half the load without asking. His voice wasn't pitying, it was matter of fact, as though helping her was the most natural thing in the world. Lily hesitated. "Why are you always so kind to me?" Sam's eyes softened. "Because kindness is free, and you've been carrying too much alone." Her chest tightened at his words. No one had ever said something so simple yet so powerful to her. For the first time in weeks, she felt a spark of warmth, a reminder that not everyone in the pack wanted to see her broken. When the pack mocked her, Sam didn't argue with them or make a scene. He just stayed by her side. When a sneering warrior muttered an insult as she passed, Sam met his gaze with a steady look that made the man quickly look away. It was as if Sam radiated a quiet authority, though no one seemed to notice. Lily started to look forward to his presence. A small nod from him gave her courage to keep walking when she wanted to run. A smile from him made the heavy silence of her nights a little lighter. What she didn't know, what no one knew, was that the quiet Omega wasn't just an ordinary pack member. Beneath his humility lay a strength and a secret that would one day shake the entire pack hierarchy. But for now, he was content to be her silent supporter. The one person who saw her worth even when she couldn't see it herself. For weeks, Sam's presence had been a quiet constant. Never demanding, never loud, always steady. But lately, Lily had begun to see him in a way she hadn't before. At first, she thought it was just gratitude. After all, Sam was the only one who didn't treat her like a punchline. Yet the more time she spent near him, the more she noticed the things she had overlooked. He listened when she spoke, not the way most people listened, waiting for their turn to talk, but with an attentiveness that made her feel her words mattered. When she mentioned missing her mother's wildflower garden, Sam brought her a small bouquet of similar blooms the very next day, tucked into a jar. He didn't say anything, didn't ask for thanks. He simply left it by her window with a small carved wooden charm tied around it for luck. Lily found herself smiling around him without realizing it. One evening, they sat under the stars, sharing a loaf of bread. She caught herself watching the way his eyes softened when he looked at the night sky, as though he saw more beauty in the world than anyone else. "You're different," she said softly, almost to herself. Sam looked over with a gentle half-smile. "Different how? You don't want anything from me. Not my obedience, not my body, not anything. You just..." She trailed off, struggling to find the words. "I just care," he said simply. "Is that so strange?" Her heart stuttered. After what Kale had done, after the humiliation, she had stopped believing there were people who cared without wanting something in return. Yet here Sam was, proving her wrong with every small act of kindness. For the first time in a long time, Lily felt warmth blooming in her chest, not from longing or infatuation, but from being truly seen. And that scared her, because if she let herself trust again, she risked being hurt all over. But when Sam smiled at her that night, moonlight brushing over his quiet features, she felt a whisper in her heart she couldn't ignore. Maybe love doesn't always roar like an alpha. Maybe it's the quiet heartbeat of someone who simply stays. Word traveled fast in the pack. Kale, the alpha, had noticed Lily wasn't as pliant as before. She no longer hung on his every word or blushed when he sent a smirk her way. Instead, she spent her time working, keeping her distance. And worse, he had seen her more than once with the quiet Omega, Sam. That didn't sit well with him. One evening, as Lily left the laundry hut, Kyle was waiting. He leaned against the wooden post, arms crossed, his wolf-like eyes gleaming with a predatory glint. "Enjoying the company of the Omega?" His tone was silky, but there was an edge beneath it. Lily stiffened. "Sam is my friend, that's all." Kyle pushed off the post and circled her slowly, like a wolf cornering its prey. "You think you can humiliate me? After I was generous enough to make you feel special? You belong to me, Lily. Don't forget that." Her breath caught, anger and fear warring inside her. "I don't belong to anyone, not you." For a second, his eyes darkened dangerously, his alpha aura pressing down like a weight meant to crush her into submission. She wanted to step back, but she forced herself to stand still. "You think an Omega can protect you?" he hissed. "He's nothing. One order from me, and he's out of this pack, or worse." The threat made her blood run cold. Kyle wasn't just arrogant, he was dangerous. But what shocked him most was her response. Lily lifted her chin, voice trembling but steady. "I'm not afraid of you anymore." Kyle's jaw clenched. "Careful, Lily. You have no idea who you're defying." He turned on his heel and left, but the message was clear. Kyle wasn't done with her, and he wouldn't let her go without a fight. As Lily stood there shaking, Sam appeared quietly from the shadows. He didn't ask what Kyle said. He simply placed his coat around her shoulders and walked her home. And that small act of care made her realize something important. Kyle wanted to own her. Sam wanted to protect her. And that difference was everything. In the days that followed Kale's warning, the pack began to notice something strange. The alpha's usual swagger seemed more forced, his temper shorter. It wasn't just about Lily anymore. It was about pride, dominance, and the fact that someone as low-ranked as Sam dared to stand near what Kale claimed as his. Kale began asserting his presence everywhere Lily went. When she carried water from the well, he'd appear with his beta, smirking as though daring her to ignore him. When she worked in the pack kitchens, his voice carried across the room with unnecessary commands meant to remind everyone who was in charge. And Sam? He didn't rise to the bait. He simply continued being there for Lily, helping her when no one watched, speaking to her in gentle tones that carried more weight than Kale's barks of authority. But the pack was starting to whisper. Why is the alpha so bothered by an omega? Did you see how Kale glares at Sam every time Lily smiles? What if Sam isn't just an omega? The rumors only fueled Kale's rage. One evening, during a communal meal, the tension finally sparked. Kale slammed his cup down, eyes locking on Sam. Omega, he said, voice dripping with disdain. You've grown bold, hovering around what's mine. The room fell silent. Lily's heart pounded in her chest. Sam's expression didn't change. He looked up calmly, his quiet voice carrying farther than expected. People aren't things to be owned, Alpha. A shocked murmur rippled through the pack. No one talked back to Kale, not even his beta. Kale's lips curled in a dangerous smile. Careful, Sam. Omegas who forget their place tend to get corrected. Sam met his gaze, steady and unflinching. Maybe it's time some alphas remembered theirs. The tension was electric. Everyone held their breath. For a moment, Kale looked ready to lunge, but he stopped himself, smirking instead. Enjoy your little rebellion, Omega. It won't last. He stood and walked off, leaving the room buzzing with whispers. Lily stared at Sam in shock. He had stood up to Kale in front of the entire pack without flinching. And for the first time, she wondered if there was much more to Sam than anyone knew. Every year, the pack hosted the Moonlight Feast, a night of food, music, and rituals under the full moon. It wasn't just about celebration, it was about hierarchy. Seats were assigned based on rank, the alpha and his beta at the head table, warriors and higher ranks next, with omegas and commoners relegated to the outskirts. It was the night everyone was reminded of their place. This year, the tension was thicker than ever. Kyle, still seething from Sam's defiance, saw the feast as the perfect chance to publicly reassert his dominance. Lily dreaded it. Whispers about her hadn't stopped, and she knew Kale might humiliate her again. Sam, as always, stayed quiet, though his calmness seemed almost deliberate, as if he were waiting for something. On the night of the feast, the entire pack gathered beneath the glowing moon. Bonfires crackled, meat roasted over open flames, and the sound of drums filled the air. Lily sat nervously among the omegas until Kale made his move. Lily, Kale's commanding voice rang out, silencing the chatter. You should sit with me, the place where you belong. It wasn't an invitation. It was an order, meant to humiliate Sam and remind the pack that Kale owned her. The pack's eyes turned to Lily. Some smirked, others pitied her. She hesitated, heart pounding. If she refused, Kale's wrath would be terrifying. If she agreed, she'd betray herself. Before she could answer, Sam's quiet voice carried across the firelight. She belongs wherever she chooses to sit. Gasps echoed. An omega speaking out twice in front of everyone? It was unheard of. Kale stood slowly, a dangerous grin on his face. Careful, Sam. Tonight's about unity. Don't make me remind you where you stand. Sam didn't flinch. His eyes held Kale's, calm but firm, and for a split second, there was something in them, a weight of authority that shouldn't belong to an Omega. The crowd felt it too. Whispers started. Why doesn't Kale's aura crush him? Is Sam hiding something? Kale sensed the shift and backed down with a smirk, but the night wasn't over. The feast had just begun, and hierarchy would be tested like never before. Lily's heart raced. Something big was coming. She could feel it. As the moonlight feast carried on, Kale drank more than usual. His laughter was loud, sharp, and every so often his eyes flicked toward Lily. The pack could sense he was building up to something. Kale thrived on public displays of dominance, and tonight he wanted the whole pack to remember who held power. Lily? Kale called suddenly, his voice cutting through the music and chatter. Everyone fell silent. Why don't you show the pack what caught my eye? Dance for us. A ripple of uneasy laughter spread among the warriors, but most pack members stayed quiet. It wasn't a request. It was a cruel command meant to reduce her to a spectacle. Lily froze. Her chest tightened. She wanted to disappear into the earth. Refusing him would be seen as defiance, but obeying would mean surrendering her dignity. Kale smirked at her hesitation. Or maybe, he added mockingly, you've already given your best performance. In my bed. Gasps spread like wildfire. Lily's face burned with shame as the pack murmured. Kale leaned back, proud of his cutting words. Before Lily could flee in humiliation, a quiet but firm voice broke through the tension. That's enough. All heads turned to see Sam standing. The humble Omega, always quiet, always overlooked, now stood tall, his calm eyes locked on Kale. Sit down, Sam, Kale growled, amused. This isn't your fight. Sam stepped forward slowly, his voice steady. No, it is. Because you've made her suffering into your sport. And an alpha who needs to crush others to feel powerful is no alpha at all. The entire feast went dead silent. The audacity of an Omega speaking like that to the alpha was unthinkable. Even Kale's beta shifted uncomfortably. Kale's smile vanished. Careful, Omega. You forget your place. Sam's gaze didn't waver. Maybe you've forgotten yours. Power isn't about humiliation. It's about protection. If you were half the leader you claimed to be, you'd know that. The murmurs grew louder. Some pack members were nodding, while others watched with wide-eyed fear. Kale stepped forward, his aura flaring, meant to intimidate. But something strange happened. Sam didn't flinch. The invisible weight of Kale's alpha presence didn't crush him the way it should have. For a split second, Kale's eyes flickered with unease, and Lily noticed it too. Kale scoffed finally, covering his discomfort with mockery. You think you can challenge me, Omega? Watch yourself before you get hurt. But the damage was done. Sam had publicly defended Lily, shamed Kale's cruelty, and planted seeds of doubt about who really held strength. Lily's heart pounded, not just from gratitude, but from a dawning realization. Sam wasn't ordinary. There was more to him than anyone knew. The feast ended awkwardly. Kale stormed out with his beta in tow, leaving behind a tense, whispering crowd. Some said Sam was a fool. Others murmured that no one had ever dared speak to Kale like that. Lily lingered by the bonfire, still shaken. She hadn't spoken to Sam since his bold defense, but her heart pounded with curiosity. Why hadn't Kale's dominance crushed him? Why did Sam seem different? Later, as the night grew cold, Lily saw a small commotion by the edge of the forest. A group of young warriors were mocking an elderly Omega woman, kicking over her basket of herbs. Sam approached calmly, without raising his voice. That's enough, he said softly, and something in his tone made them freeze. One warrior sneered. "What will you do? You're just an Omega." Sam's eyes met his. Not angry, not afraid, just steady. And that steady gaze made the young wolf swallow hard. Without another word, Sam bent down, picked up the basket, and handed it back to the woman. The warriors backed away quietly, as if some unseen force pressed on their pride. Lily watched in awe. Sam hadn't threatened anyone. He hadn't needed to. His strength wasn't in dominance, but in quiet authority that made people want to follow him, not fear him. When their eyes met across the firelight, Sam smiled faintly. "Strength doesn't always roar, Lily. Sometimes it whispers, and the wise listen." Something stirred deep in her chest. Sam wasn't weak. He simply chose peace over conflict, and that made him stronger than Kale ever would be. Over the next few days, Lily couldn't shake what she'd seen at the feast. The way Sam had faced Kale without flinching. The way his calm voice carried more weight than the alpha's roar. The way he chose kindness where others chose cruelty. She began noticing him everywhere. How he helped the elderly carry water without being asked. How he guided the younger pack members with gentle patience. How he worked quietly and never asked for thanks. Unlike Kale's flashy gifts and empty promises, Sam's actions spoke of real care. One morning, Lily saw him repairing the roof of the orphanage hut where she'd grown up. His hands were calloused, strong, yet his touch was gentle as he adjusted the wooden beams. He laughed softly with the children, even letting one sit on his shoulders as he worked. Her chest ached in a way that felt strange, soft, warm, almost frightening. "Why am I feeling this way?" she thought. "He's just an Omega." But that thought didn't hold anymore. She remembered the way his gaze had met Kale's without fear, how he had told her that strength doesn't always roar. Her admiration for his quiet courage was deepening into something she didn't want to name yet. When Sam caught her staring and flashed her a small, almost shy smile, Lily's cheeks warmed. She quickly turned away, but her heart betrayed her with its quickened rhythm. That night, alone in her bed, Lily admitted what she'd been trying to deny. She felt safe with Sam in a way she'd never felt with Kale. And maybe, just maybe, her heart was slowly beginning to belong to him. The sun had barely set when Lily finished cleaning the bakery. As she stepped outside, the air felt unusually tense, almost like a storm was brewing. "Lily," a deep voice called. She froze. Kyle stood by the shadows near the pack hall, his piercing eyes locked on her. He wasn't smiling like before. His presence felt heavier, sharper. "You've been spending a lot of time around the Omega," he said, stepping closer. Her heart thudded. "Sam? He's just been helping me." "Helping you?" Kale's voice dripped with disdain. "Don't play games with me, Lily. I see the way you look at him. Don't forget who brought you into this world of attention and protection. Without me, you're nothing." The words stung, but she stood frozen, unable to respond. Kyle leaned closer, his tone dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You belong to me. I don't share what's mine. Stay away from him, or I'll make sure you regret it." Lily's stomach twisted. She hated the way he said it, not with love, but with ownership, as if she were a prize he'd won and could discard at will. "I never belonged to anyone," she whispered, almost too quietly for him to hear. His eyes narrowed, and for a moment, his hand twitched as though he might grab her. But then he smirked coldly. "Don't test me, Lily. You'll lose." With that, Kale turned and stalked off into the night, leaving her shaken and trembling. For the first time, Lily felt true fear, not of being unwanted, but of being controlled. And deep inside, a spark of defiance flickered. Lily sat by the riverbank later that night, her knees drawn to her chest. Kale's words still rang in her ears like poison. "You belong to me." The cool moonlight reflected on the water, but inside, she felt a storm. She didn't notice Sam approach until he sat down beside her, a gentle presence that didn't startle. He didn't ask what was wrong. He simply sat in silence, letting her breathe. After a moment, he spoke in his calm, steady voice. "Lily," he said softly, "you've been carrying pain that isn't yours to bear." Her throat tightened. He thinks I belong to him, like I'm something he owns." Sam turned to her, his dark eyes reflecting the moonlight. "You're not anyone's possession. You deserve more than fear and humiliation. You deserve respect. Real love is never about control. It's about choice." His words hit her like a spark of warmth in the cold night. She looked at him, her heart pounding. "Why are you always so kind to me, Sam? Even when everyone laughs at me." He hesitated, and for the first time, Lily saw vulnerability on his face. He looked away briefly, as if debating whether to speak, then turned back. "Because you matter to me," he admitted quietly. "More than I thought possible. I've tried to stay silent because of what people would say, because of Kale. But Lily?" His voice softened, sincere. "I care about you. Not for what you can give me, not for status. Just you. Exactly as you are." Her breath caught. For the first time in so long, she felt truly seen. No gifts, no empty promises, just honesty. Her heart swelled and tears pricked her eyes. "Sam," she whispered, unsure how to respond. He smiled faintly, his voice barely above a whisper. "You don't have to say anything now. Just promise me you'll never let anyone convince you that you're unworthy of love or respect. Because you are worthy. Always." Lily's chest ached with an emotion she was almost afraid to name. For the first time, the word love didn't feel like a dream. It felt real, tangible, sitting right next to her on that riverbank. That night, Lily lay awake staring at the cracked ceiling of her small room. Sam's words replayed over and over in her mind. "You are worthy. Always." They warmed her heart, yet a knot of dread sat heavy in her stomach. For the first time, she could imagine what it might be like to truly love and be loved in return. Not as a prize to be claimed, but as a partner cherished. When Sam had spoken, his voice carried no demands, no threats, only sincerity. She craved that warmth more than anything. But Kale's warning echoed too. "Stay away from him, or you'll regret it." The memory of his cold smirk sent chills through her. Kale wasn't just a man, he was the alpha. His word could destroy her. One order and she could be cast out of the pack. Or worse. Tears stung her eyes as the war raged inside her. What if Sam gets hurt because of me? Kale would never tolerate being defied. Yet the thought of walking away from Sam felt like suffocating herself. She buried her face in her hands. "I don't know what to do," she whispered to the dark. In the silence, her heart betrayed her fears. It longed for Sam's kindness, his steady presence. He made her feel seen, safe, valued. With him, she could breathe. With Kale, she only felt owned. But could she survive the wrath of an alpha? Could anyone? For the first time, Lily realized that love wasn't just about longing, it was about courage. And she wasn't sure if she was brave enough yet. The uneasy tension in the pack boiled over sooner than anyone expected. Whispers had already begun. Kale's leadership was being questioned behind closed doors, his arrogance making enemies. Rogues had been sighted near the borders for weeks, but Kale ignored the warnings, too focused on asserting dominance and parading his conquests. One moonless night, chaos struck. The alarm howl split the silence like a blade. Flames licked the eastern edge of the pack's territory. The rogues had set fire to the outlying huts and stormed the borders. Screams rang through the night as wolves shifted and clashed in a brutal frenzy. Lily was jolted awake by the commotion, her heart pounding. She stumbled outside into the chaos, smoke stinging her eyes. She saw Kale, massive, powerful, but distracted, bellowing orders with no clear strategy. He charged headfirst into the fray, his pride blinding him. Wolves fell around him, injured or worse, and Lily's gut twisted as she realized, he's losing control. The rogues pressed harder, fast, and merciless. Children and elders were trapped near the burning dens. Lily froze when she saw a small pup stumble dangerously close to the flames. Before she could move, someone shot past her, Sam. Not the humble, quiet Omega she thought she knew, but a blur of speed and strength. He shifted seamlessly into his wolf form, sleek, powerful, and far faster than any alpha. He leapt over the flames, grabbed the pup by the scruff, and darted back before the fire could touch him. His roar shook the night as he turned to face the rogues. Lily watched in stunned awe as Sam coordinated with the other wolves, barking precise commands that cut through the chaos Kale had failed to control. Under Sam's direction, the pack rallied. He fought with a grace that made him seem almost untouchable, not brutal like Kale, but deadly efficient. By the time the sun rose, the rogues were defeated. The pack was bloodied but alive, and the one who saved them wasn't their alpha. Sam shifted back, blood streaking his arms, his chest rising and falling. He didn't boast or demand recognition, he simply helped the wounded. When his eyes met Lily's across the smoky clearing, her heart skipped. For the first time, she saw not just kindness, but strength, a quiet, humble power that demanded no validation. And the pack saw it too. Whispers began to spread. Who really deserves to lead? Kale noticed those whispers, and his rage simmered. The chaos of the rogue attack raged on. Smoke clouded the moonlight, wolves clashed with teeth and claws, and the air reeked of blood and burning wood. Lily, heart pounding, tried to help the wounded near the healer's hut, but panic blinded her. A massive rogue wolf broke through the defensive line. Its snarling jaws locked on her, eyes wild with bloodlust. She froze. Her body refused to move. The rogue lunged. In that split second, something slammed into her, knocking her off her feet. But not the rogue's fangs. Instead, a larger body shielded her. Sam. He'd come out of nowhere, his wolf form a blur of silver and black. He struck the rogue midair with such precision that they rolled together into the dirt. Sam shifted mid-motion, landing on his feet in human form, blood streaking his arms but eyes blazing with focus. "Run, Lily!" he barked, but she couldn't move. The rogue charged again, and Sam met it head-on. His movements weren't brute force like Kale's. They were calculated, efficient. He dodged the rogue's claws, and in one fluid motion drove a silver dagger, taken from a fallen warrior, into its side. The rogue collapsed with a guttural cry. Another rogue lunged for Lily from behind. Sam turned just in time, grabbed her arm, and pulled her close, spinning her out of harm's way. His body was her shield, his back taking a deep slash meant for her. Blood soaked his shirt, but he didn't falter. For a heartbeat, their eyes locked in the chaos. Lily's fear gave way to something else. Awe. This wasn't just kindness. This was bravery, sacrifice. "You're safe," Sam said softly, even as he bled. Something inside Lily cracked open. The man she once thought insignificant had risked everything for her, and he didn't do it for recognition. He did it because he cared. As the battle subsided and the rogues fled, Lily clung to him, trembling. She didn't notice Kale watching from the shadows, his jaw tight, his eyes burning with something dangerous. The aftermath of the battle left the pack in stunned silence. Warriors limped back with torn fur and bloodied arms. Healers rushed from one wounded wolf to another, and the smell of iron hung heavy in the air. But amid the chaos, one thing stood out. Sam, the quiet Omega, stood tall, blood streaked across his chest, a wound torn deep in his back, yet unshaken. pack members whispered, their voices filled with disbelief. "Did you see him take down that rogue? He fought like a trained alpha. He shielded Lily. Even Kale wasn't there." For years, Sam had been dismissed as insignificant, an Omega meant for menial tasks, someone beneath notice. But tonight, the pack had seen a side of him no one expected: strategic, brave, and selfless. He didn't need a title to command respect. His actions spoke louder than Kale's dominance ever could. Lily helped him to the healer's tent, her hands trembling as she pressed a cloth against his wounds. He flinched, but his eyes stayed soft on her. The entire pack watched. "Why didn't you ever show your strength before?" someone finally asked. Sam's lips curved into a faint smile. "Strength isn't just about fighting. It's about knowing when to protect and when to heal. My rank never mattered." The words struck a chord. The pack members shifted uneasily. Many had mocked him for years, yet here he was, the one who had saved them, not Kale. Even the elders exchanged glances. Respect bloomed in their eyes. The hierarchy was cracking. And Kale, standing on the edge of the gathering, clenched his fists. For the first time, the Alpha wasn't the center of admiration. And Lily? She looked at Sam like he was the only one who ever truly saw her. The feast that was meant to celebrate the pack's survival turned tense. Lanterns flickered, meat roasted over open flames, and yet whispers swirled like smoke. The warriors praised Sam openly, their voices carrying through the crowd. Sam fought harder than anyone. He protected Lily while the Alpha was nowhere to be seen. Kyle arrived late, his usual swagger muted by the unease in the air. He tried to reassert dominance, raising his goblet and smirking. "Victory is mine. My leadership kept you all alive." But his words landed flat. One of the elders stood and said coldly, "It wasn't you who saved us tonight, Kale. It was Sam." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kale's jaw tightened. An Omega doesn't lead battles. He was lucky. Another warrior, one who had seen everything, stepped forward. "Lucky? I saw you hiding near the supply wagons when the rogue struck. Sam fought while you—" The warrior cut himself off, but the damage was done. Murmurs erupted. Kale's temper flared. His mask of charm slipped. "Watch your tongue. I am Alpha. None of you would survive without me." His voice cracked with fury. He turned toward Lily, his eyes sharp and cruel. "And you, don't think that lying with an Omega makes you more than what you are. You're still nothing." The words hit like a thunderclap. The pack fell silent. Even those who feared Kale felt a spark of disgust. He had mocked Lily publicly, revealed his arrogance, and shown his true cruelty in front of everyone. Sam stepped between Kale and Lily, his back straight despite his injuries. His voice was calm, but carried weight. "A true Alpha protects his pack. He doesn't humiliate the weak. Strength isn't just about power, it's about honor." A hush fell over the gathering. For the first time, many pack members lowered their eyes not out of submission to Kyle, but out of shame for following him blindly. His aura of dominance cracked. His cruelty exposed him. The hierarchy was shifting. Kale's face burned red. For the first time, the Alpha felt humiliated, publicly, openly. And the worst part? He could see it in their eyes. The pack no longer looked at him with awe. They looked at Sam. The pack had barely recovered from the shock of Kale's public humiliation when an even greater revelation shook their world. Whispers had already begun. Who is Sam, really? How could an Omega fight like a seasoned Alpha, outmatch trained warriors, and command such quiet respect from the elders? The truth came out unexpectedly during a tense pack council meeting. After Kale stormed out in anger, accusing Sam of plotting to steal his position, the eldest council member, Elder Morin, stood slowly and addressed the crowd. "You all speak of Sam as if he were a mere Omega. Morin said, his voice carrying a weight that silenced the hall. But perhaps it is time you learn the truth of his bloodline. Gasps echoed. Sam stepped forward, visibly uneasy. Elder, this isn't necessary. But Morin continued, ignoring his protest. Sam is no ordinary wolf. His mother was Luna of the Northern Moon Royal Pack. His father was a wandering warrior alpha who gave his life to save their lands. Sam was hidden here as a child to protect him from assassins seeking to wipe out his bloodline. The hall erupted with shock. Wolves stared, jaws dropping. Royal blood? A true alpha heir? Kale froze mid-step at the doorway. His face paled. Morin's voice grew firmer. He chose humility. He chose peace. He chose to live among you as an Omega, even when his blood called him to rule. And yet, when the time came, he protected you when your alpha failed. All eyes turned to Sam. He shifted uncomfortably, but his gaze found Lily's. There was no arrogance in his stance, only quiet strength. I never wanted a crown, he said softly. I only wanted a home. The revelation shifted the entire dynamic of the pack. Sam wasn't weak. He wasn't low-ranked. He had been powerful all along. He just chose not to wield his power unless necessary. For the first time, the pack began to see what true leadership looked like. Not dominance, but honor. Kale's pride was shattered, but his obsession with Lily burned hotter than ever. The revelation of Sam's royal lineage humiliated him before the pack, and whispers of his failure filled every corner of the territory. He couldn't bear it. She was mine first, he told himself, over and over, until the words became poison in his veins. Late one evening, Lily was walking home when Kale appeared from the shadows. His smirk was gone, his face twisted with rage and desperation. Lily, he said, stepping closer, voice low and sharp. You've been lied to. Sam isn't who you think he is. He's manipulating you, using his title to control the pack. But you... His eyes roamed her face with a strange hunger. You belong with me. You always have. Lily shook her head, heart racing. I don't belong to anyone, Kale, least of all you. That rejection snapped something inside him. With a snarl, he grabbed her wrist. You think you can humiliate me? You think the pack will ever respect you as anything but the girl I tossed aside? Come back to me willingly, or I'll make sure Sam loses more than his pride. His threat wasn't empty. The venom in his tone made her blood run cold. Kale spread lies in the days that followed, telling some that Sam had staged the rogue attack, whispering that Lily bewitched him with tricks to gain power. The pack began to fracture, some doubting Sam despite his heroism. Kale also tried seduction as much as intimidation. He left expensive gifts at Lily's door, sent messages begging her to remember what they had, even promising to make her Luna if she returned. But Lily had seen his true face. His lies and cruelty no longer swayed her. Instead, they strengthened her resolve to stand by Sam. Still, Kale was dangerous, and the pack tension reached a boiling point. Lily knew he wasn't finished. If anything, he was preparing for something darker. The tension in the pack had reached its breaking point. Whispers about Kale's lies and Sam's heroism buzzed in every corner. The feast hall was packed when Kale arrived with his beta, daring Sam with a smirk. You want her? Kale's voice boomed, dripping venom. You want to steal my pack's respect? Then fight me like a man, Omega. The pack roared with anticipation, expecting blood and dominance. But Sam stood calmly, his posture steady, his eyes holding Kale's without fear. I'm not here to fight you for Lily, Sam said, his voice strong but gentle. Because Lily is not a prize. She chooses for herself. And as for this pack, you call it yours, but a true alpha leads with honor, not fear, not lies. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Sam stepped closer, unflinching. You mocked her after you used her? Sam continued, his voice carrying to the farthest edges of the hall. You let rogues attack because you were too busy feeding your ego to protect your people. Strength isn't in dominance or threats. It's in sacrifice, in standing for those who can't stand for themselves. You failed them, Kyle, and you failed her. Kyle snarled, ready to lunge, but Sam held his ground. If you want to fight me, fine. But understand this. Even if you win with fists, you've already lost where it matters. In honor, in love, and in the hearts of your people. The hall fell silent. Some pack members lowered their heads, ashamed. Others looked at Kale with doubt for the first time. Lily felt tears well up. Sam wasn't just defending her. He was showing what true leadership looked like. Kale roared in fury and swung, but Sam deflected with surprising strength. Their clash wasn't just physical. It was a battle of ideals. The Omega proved he wasn't weak, but what truly shook the pack was his heart, his courage, and his refusal to treat Lily as property. For the first time, the pack saw Kale not as invincible, but as small. The tension in the hall was thick, Kale's furious roar still echoing. Sam's words had stirred the pack, but Kale's glare tried to keep them under his control. Then, Lily stepped forward. Her knees trembled, but her voice, though shaky, carried years of pain. "Stop," she said, and the hall fell silent. All eyes turned to her. For so long she had been invisible, just a baker's orphan girl, a rumor, a joke. Now she stood between the Alpha and the Omega, tears streaming down her face, but her chin lifted with courage she didn't know she had. "You all whisper about me," Lily began, her voice breaking. "You laugh behind my back. You call me names because I was in his bed." She turned to Kale, pain flashing in her eyes. "But none of you know the truth." She inhaled sharply, forcing the words out. "He told me he loved me. He promised to make me his mate. He gave me gifts, told me I mattered, and I believed him, because I wanted to believe someone could love a girl like me." Her voice cracked as sobs threatened to take over. "But the morning after, I heard him laughing with his beta, calling me an easy conquest." The murmurs in the hall grew louder. Even Kale's most loyal supporters shifted uncomfortably. "I was never anything to him but a game," Lily continued. "And when I was hurting, when you all mocked me, do you know who cared? The man you call weak? The Omega you overlook? Sam held me when I cried. He gave me respect when no one else did." She turned toward the crowd, her tears shining in the torchlight. "You want to judge me? Fine, but know this. I didn't give myself to Kale because I was shameless. I gave myself because I trusted him, and he lied. I was tricked, humiliated, and discarded, and I won't let him or anyone else shame me for believing in love." Her voice rose with raw emotion, silencing even the whispers. "If that makes me weak, so be it. But I'd rather be weak and kind than powerful and cruel." The hall was still. Some wolves lowered their heads, ashamed. Sam stepped closer, but didn't touch her, letting her have her moment. Kale's face contorted with rage, but his dominance was slipping. The pack was seeing the truth. A stunned silence lingered after Lily's confession. The weight of her words hung heavy in the hall. For a moment, Kyle tried to reassert his dominance, his voice sharp with command. "Enough of this nonsense," he barked, his eyes flashing. "She's just an Omega girl, nothing more. You all know where the power lies. It's with me. I decide who is worthy." But his voice no longer had the same iron grip on the pack. Whispers rose like a wave, growing louder. Wolves who once feared him now looked at him with something else, disgust. "She trusted you, and you mocked her?" one elder said, shaking his head. "Our Alpha doesn't protect. He humiliates," another muttered. A young warrior growled, "Sam has done more for us than you ever did, Kale." Kale's nostrils flared. "Sam? He's an Omega? He's weak?" At that, Sam stepped forward. His posture was calm but unyielding. "Strength isn't in how loudly you roar or how cruelly you dominate," he said. Strength is in protecting those who need it, in lifting others instead of stepping on them. You failed as a leader, Kale, and the pack sees it now. Gasps rippled through the crowd as more voices joined in. "We stand with Lily!" a woman cried. "And with Sam!" another added. Kale's face darkened, but the tide had turned. His beta looked away, shame on his face, unwilling to defend him. Warriors stepped toward Lily and Sam, placing themselves between them and Kale. For the first time, Kale realized what true power was. And it wasn't fear. It was loyalty freely given. Lily clutched Sam's hand, tears of gratitude in her eyes. For so long she thought she had no worth, but now the pack defended her. Not because of her beauty, not because of Kale's status, but because they finally saw the truth. Kale's roar shook the hall, but it no longer carried the power it once had. He lashed out, his claws flashing as he tried to reassert his dominance through fear. "You think you can defy me?" he snarled, stepping toward Sam and Lily. "I am your alpha, I am your law." But no one stepped aside for him this time. The warriors who had once jumped at his command now stood firm, their eyes hard and unyielding. Even his beta lowered his head, refusing to meet Kale's gaze. "You ruled by fear, Kale," the pack elder said, his voice cutting through the tension. "But fear breaks when truth is revealed. You lied, you manipulated, and you mocked those who trusted you. That is not the way of a true alpha." Murmurs of agreement rose throughout the room. He took advantage of Lily. He abandoned us when rogues attacked. Sam stood up while Kyle hid. Every whisper was another blow to Kyle's pride. His arrogance faltered as the pack began to see him not as a leader, but as a tyrant. "I made this pack strong," Kyle growled, his voice trembling with rage and desperation. "Without me, you're nothing." "No," Sam replied calmly, stepping forward. "Without you, they will finally be free to heal. A pack thrives when its alpha protects, not prays." The Council of Elders moved closer, their authority absolute. "Kyle," the eldest announced, "by your own actions, you have forfeited the respect of this pack. We strip you of your title and your right to lead." The words hit Kyle harder than any physical blow. He stumbled back, his face pale with shock. No one knelt for him. No one defended him. His reign was over. Kale let out a broken, furious howl and fled the hall. The pack did not follow. They turned their backs on him, each face reflecting the same truth. The age of fear was over. Lily stood close to Sam, her hand trembling in his. For the first time, she felt safe. And for the first time, Kale's absence felt like freedom. The night was quiet, the pack's camp glowing softly under the moonlight. Fires crackled in the distance, but Lily and Sam sat apart from the crowd, wrapped in the comforting silence of each other's presence. Sam looked at her, his expression tender but serious. "Lily," he began, his voice low. "Everything I've done, everything I've risked, it's because I wanted to protect you. But there's more than protection. I want to share my life with you." Lily's heart skipped a beat. "Sam," she whispered, unsure if words could carry the depth of what she felt. He reached for her hand, holding it gently. "I don't want to claim you. I want to honor you. Will you accept my mark?" The pack had watched such markings before, often as a sign of dominance or claim. But in Sam's hands, it felt different. Gentle, respectful, and full of meaning. "It's a promise," he explained softly. "A bond, yes, but not ownership. A reminder that we choose each other, every day, freely. That no lies, no fear, no alpha's threats can ever come between us." Lily felt tears prick her eyes. The thought of a bond without coercion, without fear, was almost overwhelming. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, Sam, I'll accept it. I want to choose you, as you choose me." With a careful, reverent touch, Sam marked her, the glow of the bond visible only to them. It wasn't just a physical symbol. It was trust, love, and respect made tangible. He pulled her into a gentle embrace, and she rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. The moment was silent, but perfect, a private world of safety and belonging amidst the pack. For Lily, it wasn't just the mark of a mate. It was the mark of a man who saw her worth, honored her spirit, and loved her with a heart untainted by deceit. The camp was quiet under the soft glow of dawn, the chaos of the past weeks finally settling into a calm rhythm. Lily walked among the pack, not with her head bowed, not hiding in shame, but standing tall. For so long, she had carried the weight of humiliation, believing she was weak, naive, or unworthy. Cale's lies had made her doubt herself. But now, with Sam at her side and the pack's eyes filled with respect instead of mockery, Lily felt a shift within her. She stopped by the riverbank where she and Sam had shared their first private moments. The water reflected her face, and she studied it. The same girl who had once felt powerless, now steady, radiant, and unafraid. "I forgive myself," she whispered softly, letting the words sink deep into her heart. "I was tricked, yes. I was hurt, yes. But I am not defined by his cruelty. I am strong. I am worthy. I am me." With a deep breath, she lifted her chin and smiled. Sam reached for her hand, giving a gentle squeeze, as if affirming all that she had just claimed for herself. "You've always been strong," he said quietly. "You just needed to see it for yourself." She laughed softly, tears of relief and joy spilling down her cheeks. "I do now," she replied. The pack watched from a distance as Lily walked confidently back to the camp, not just as a mate of the Omega, but as a woman who had reclaimed her dignity, her voice, and her life. For the first time, Lily felt complete, not because of anyone's approval, but because she had forgiven herself and embraced her true worth. The pack had finally found peace. Kyle, stripped of respect and power, had fled into exile, his arrogance and cruelty leaving him isolated. No one followed him. His reign of fear was over. The pack murmured about his departure, relieved that the shadow of tyranny had lifted. Sam stood before the pack, not with the pride of a newly revealed heir, but with quiet humility. He addressed them gently. Leadership isn't about titles or blood. It's about protecting each other, guiding with honor, and choosing to lift others, not dominate them. The pack, inspired by his example, nodded and cheered. Sam had earned their respect through courage, compassion, and integrity, not through force. But the eyes of the pack were not the only ones drawn to him. Lily stepped forward, her hand slipping into his. She didn't need a title, a crown, or a mark of power. She needed love, truthful, gentle, and earned. "I choose you, Sam," she said softly, her voice carrying across the camp. "Not for your strength, not for your bloodline, but because of your heart." Sam's eyes glimmered, reflecting both pride and humility. "And I choose you, Lily, every day, freely and fully." As the sun rose over the horizon, the pack celebrated the new era. Wolves danced, cheered, and howled in unity. For the first time in generations, the pack was led not by fear, but by respect, integrity, and love. Kale's exile left a lingering warning. Cruelty and arrogance never truly triumph. And yet, in the heart of the pack, a new chapter had begun. A chapter where love and honor prevailed. Lily and Sam walked hand in hand to the riverbank, where they had first confided in each other and shared a quiet, tender moment. The world had tested them, tried to break them, but they had emerged stronger. Not through power, but through trust, loyalty, and love. And so, the Omega remained humble. The Alpha who had tormented her was gone, and Lily had chosen a life of freedom, dignity, and true love. a life she had always deserved.